So we were just talking about running and then
Transportations.
bicycles and then scooters, and we got a bunch of scooters in town. We got a bunch of jump bikes. Jump bike is owned by Uber.
Yeah.
So I ran into our friend Austin Hayworth at Urban Roots the other night.
Yeah. What's Urban Roots? Bar?
It's a brewery and restaurant.
Okay. Because I've heard about it. I don't think I've heard about
It's the same. It's one of the same owners as Pangea, if you've ever been there.
No, but also heard of it.
Yeah. Urban Roots is really good. It's actually kind of my favorite place right now for beer. Yeah, their beers are really good. Ran into him. He does public affairs for Uber. That's his
lobbying world.
Yeah.
Lawyer world.
Lobbying and then just public relations-y kind of stuff. I don't know 100% of his job. He said that things were rough for a while, but they're going actually really well
they
now.
Just went public? Someone just went public?
Something like that, yeah.
I think they just went public.
I said, dude, are they ever going to make money?
Them and Lyft were supposed to go public, and Lyft was like, I think, fighting to be public first.
Yeah. Anyway, I know he listens to this show occasionally, so he'll enjoy hearing this about himself. But I actually saw that then he was yesterday he was part of the jump bike crew that rode in the Pride Parade.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I avoided downtown all weekend. Just like, so we have Second Saturday, which we've talked about in another episode, which is like every second of the month in the summer, fall, sometimes spring. They block off a party and it gets wild, kind of too wild for me.
Yeah.
And then it's Pride, which is always a wild party. And so now you have Second Saturday on the weekend of Pride. I don't know how many. I haven't seen pictures yet, but I'm sure there was thousands and thousands of people in a couple of blocks.
Yeah, and there were protests this time.
Yeah, the negative side of it. I don't mind Pride by any means. Don't get me wrong by my statement saying I'm staying inside, folks. It's literally just crowds.
Yeah,
it was just a big crowd that I didn't want.
Mike does not like crowds. That's not the.
Yeah, I wasn't. I can do a little weekend bar situation sometimes. We went out on the day before, actually, Friday. I think Saturday was the big day. I think we went out on a Friday. It was pretty crowded, but not too bad. And I could hang with that. That was a good time. But big crowds, angry people that still don't like homosexuality. I don't want to be around that.
And I think that there's like infighting because there was an issue of whether or not that the police would participate in the parade.
Yeah, I think that stopped though. Yeah, there was.
Yeah, but there was still I don't know. It became kind of a mess. I don't. It's frustrating when these things are just not like straight up whatever they are.
Yeah, I agree that you can't just celebrate.
Yeah, it gets complicated. You can't. Neither one of us really talks politics on social media because it's too complicated. You can't even a well-intentioned thing on social media is going to piss somebody off.
Right, because you can't give context and you can't. I think you and I could probably do a political podcast and get along with most people, or at least have a conversation.
I'm talking about doing a political podcast right now. I'm sort of in the very early development stages on one right now. Yeah. That would not include me as talent. I would just produce it.
Yeah, but we could I think hold those conversations because we can see multiple sides. But on social media, you can't do that. You can't like give context. You can't give like an agreement. You can just give a statement.
Right.
And that's always going to piss somebody off.
Right, exactly. So the topic for this episode is using virtual reality for fitness.
I'm in it. Sign me up.
And I've never really done any VR at all, so I don't have any idea. I know that augmented reality has gotten to be a big thing.
I think
recently,
when I first heard about augmented reality, I thought it was the most genius thing I've ever heard of. And multiple games are coming out. There's another one. Obviously, Pokemon Go is the most famous augmented reality game. For those that don't know, augmented is basically looking through a system lens, mostly obviously your phone, because it has a camera and a screen, and it will take the game and kind of place it in reality. So you Pokemon Goers know, but you look on your phone, camera's live, and you see Pikachu sitting there on your phone in real life.
And
he's not there.
Fuck, it's Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. I actually heard that was okay. I never saw it. I don't know if I could get over it, but I heard it was okay. But then so you see him on your phone, like sitting at the desk next to you. Virtual reality is the opposite, where you put on some goggles. Perhaps you have a controller of some type in your hands, and you are thrown into the world. It's basically in a form of 3D-ish.
totally immersive kind of.
Ready Player One is a famous book, movie, whatever about that,
right?
Which takes it to the next level because they're like running on treadmills and shit, which looks sick. And I think they do have some of that, but not commercially available.
Yeah. Now I know a little bit about this because I saw Dr. Jimmy Bagley speak a few weeks ago, and there were some pictures and stuff of what they were doing in their lab. My understanding is that they were trying to determine like what effect does doing exercise in a virtual reality environment have on people's perceived effort.
Yeah, how hard they go.
And how hard they feel.
And how long they can maybe go, which to me is genius to even try to mix those techs, because I think a lot of tech and fitness is corny.
It can be, yeah,
you know,
for sure.
like how many heartbeat monitors do we need? Like, I think there's definitely some applications for all these things, but like as much like you see people that don't work out and they're checking their heart rate all the time. Like, you can tell when your heart rate's pumping or not. And then if you do work out, like sweat a little bit, make yourself pump your heart rate, and then good stop. You know, like it's. There's other ways to do that. And then obviously on the next level, we had another guest, which podcast should be coming soon, talking about how to kind of track athletes and injury prevention and things like that. That makes sense to me also, but for the everyday person. But this mixed tech with fitness makes a lot more sense. I recently did a bike ride at my boy Abs, Brian, who's a local business owner and trainer. He opened a cycling studio where it's maybe 20 bikes and a huge front screen at the front. He lasered the place out. There's lights. It feels like a dance party. He is a DJ, just happens to be, so he makes the mixes for this thing. Plus he's high energy. And on the big screen you see like your rider, your score mixed in with the class and your riding, plus loud music, plus the environment. And I crushed it. You know, I went an hour bike ride and sweating my tits off, where I would never do that on my own. I would either get bored. Me, it's mostly my ADD. But you get tired and you just stop. But CrossFit's another one. CrossFit gets a lot of hate in this world, and especially in the fitness game and the strength and conditioning game. But they've done a lot of things really, really well, where every class, every workout is kind of score-based. And I know that's not virtual reality, but trying to make things like a game can obviously help people push a little bit harder, even if it's a hair of competitiveness. It's a little bit more difficult when like me and Jim are training partners and we just know Jim's deadlift's better than mine, my squat's better than Jim's, or whatever, and we're just kind of there working rather than like CrossFit in particular, or any cardio or something like, oh, maybe I could get him today, or I'm going to up my score today, or whatever it might be. It adds something to it. Now you add in the gaming, kind of real gaming of it. I could easily see this be, especially for, you know, my generation, which is probably the I would guess is the most obese generation in the history of mankind.
That's possible. That's totally possible.
Just knowing that, right? Like millennials are the core of humans right now.
Yep.
And America's more obese than we've ever been right now. So put those two numbers together, I'm sure there's some correlation of us. So to get these guys who are just playing Xbox and eating Doritos to now maybe drink a smoothie and
get up off the couch.
Yeah, and still move in a video game. I mean, I'd be down to try it.
And we're talking about, just to be clear, this is like your whole body is moving. It's not, you're not pressing buttons on a controller.
Yeah, there's two games.
You might be a controller, but your whole body is still having to move.
There's two games that that are popular right now that I can think of are kind of along these lines. One is like a Just Dance game where like you're not in a virtual like setting. It's not like covering your eyes, but it's on a screen. But there's a camera that picks up your movement, and so you're standing and having to dance the whole time, keeping the score, kind of like a Guitar Hero, except you're dancing. So you have to stand up. Technically, I guess not virtual reality, but along the same lines. And then the virtual reality I'm thinking of is kind of like Guitar Hero, but it's like a Jedi game. So you have two utensils in your hand. They turn into lasers, and then like notes are flying by you. And you have to like hit them, but you hit them to the beat of the music. And you're like slicing these. They kind of look like starbursts in half. And each sword you have is colored, and you have to hit the proper color with the proper sword.
I'm not coordinated enough for that.
It looks really hard. So obviously you learn and then you speed up and speed up. But I've seen some guys that are good at it. Yeah, it looks insane.
Well, that's a mental exercise and a physical exercise. It feels like. Yeah.
For sure. And then like you're not moving your feet as much as maybe some of these other games. Like Ready Player One obviously is like the big example. That guy's running around like he's living a full life. Right. So he's running, he's walking, he's driving, he's biking, he's fighting, he's shooting, whatever. Those are next level. But this one you're moving your whole upper body. But the dance one, again, although it's not virtual reality, I could see it having tons of benefits.
Yeah, I can see how maybe a studio like Brian has, if it was not one big screen and everybody just had VR headsets on, like what would that be like?
Or even just your phones, right? I don't know if iPhone's done it, but Samsung basically made Oculus, and you just slide your phone in there, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Sick.
I'm not sure exactly what technology they're using, but yeah, for sure, you just throw your
and
phone
so a
in
studio
there.
could do that. They just have the adapter. Everyone just slides your own phone in.
Right.
You probably have an app, and bada boom, bada bing. That'd be cool.
So this is a question. So in most of those things, you can choose an avatar.
Yeah.
And so if you were in a room of 20 people and everyone was in virtual reality, would they choose to look the way they look in real life, or would they choose to look differently? And then how would you react to them?
Yeah, as my avatar, because that's what's cool about Ready Player One is people don't choose what they look like.
Right.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I think, and the same thing kind of happens like basketball, like the 2K games for any gamers out there. I played a lot of 2K, and you can create your own player, and then I never chose a guy that, actually I kind of did. He would kind of look like me.
Yeah.
Like a hair like me.
Yeah.
Except taller.
Yeah, it's like Bitmoji, but like in real life.
But if I could do anything, I probably wouldn't make it like me. Like I might make like a little fucking mouse or something.
Yeah.
Like a human mouse. Or like Timon from Lion King.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of like me, I feel like. He's kind of, but he doesn't look physically like me, but he's kind of like me.
Off track for just a second. Did you see the Aladdin movie?
No, I heard it was good. A lot of people liked it.
Yeah. Jacob Ross said it was good.
He texted me about it, yeah.
Yeah.
I heard it, and a lot of other people said it was really good.
So I guess it really comes down to, is virtual reality a thing that will help people who are not typically involved in the fitness world get more fit?
Yeah, and then I think the questions that we'll have to lead into, I think obviously our guest has run a couple studies on it and can give some numbers on it, but then there's more applicable things we have to look at, not everybody likes the same video game. Yeah. Not everybody likes the same workout.
Right.
So how many varieties of VR do we need?
That's a good question.
And then also, what if someone's doesn't like working out and doesn't like video games?
Yeah, they're just, I don't know. They're just going to get sewn into the couch. That's just pretty much all that's going to happen.
That's going to be the issue. Yeah. But I do think that it could help a lot of people. I'd do it.
All right. We're on to our conversation with Dr. Jim Bagley after this word from our sponsor. So I'm staring at this copy that says, there's a sense of pride that comes with being able to talk confidently and intelligently about a subject. And that is true. That is very true. But most of us don't or can't. And it's because we don't either know or remember enough about a particular topic.
Yeah, what's up with these people? They argue even when they have no clue what they're talking about. I think there's a personality trait, and it's more common nowadays than ever. Maybe not, but it seems
amplified by social media.
Yeah. Well, they'll argue something that they just heard once.
Right.
Which is kind of obviously the basis for the show.
For this show, for sure. So we've teamed up with the Great Courses Plus to give you the opportunity to know more than the average person, so you can speak with some level of confidence. It's very similar to what we do on this show, except that they have courses of which there are under each course there are maybe up to 36 different videos that talk about a particular part of a topic, whatever your topic is, and you can spend a good amount of time just sucking up this information, and suddenly you know more than the people around you. For sure. No more than the people around you, and not just maybe.
End up winning more of these arguments than losing them. Whether you guys are interested in nutrition, martial arts, business, history, whatever it is, they have courses for you. And this one that we've been taking a look at actually resonates well with this episode, and Jim McD and I, as I guess you want to call us businessmen, entrepreneurs. Yeah, everyone's an entrepreneur. But if you run a business, or you are potentially wanting to run a business, you might want to check out the Entrepreneur's Toolkit. This may reinforce what you're already doing. It may help you guide your next steps in your business, or it might just teach you a couple things if you want to, whether you're interested in business or, again, want to start your own. Detailed tips, tools for anyone looking to start, nurture, or expand, or potentially even sell their businesses, make a little bit of that cash money, which is stuff, Jim went to school. He might know a little bit more than me, but it's stuff you don't know until you've gone through it. And I've learned the hard way, but it would have been cool to get this course 10 years ago when I started.
Well, some of the stuff you actually do, I have 2 business degrees. Some of the stuff you are actually taught in school, and other parts of it you're really not. I mean, there's not that much curriculum around entrepreneurship. There was even less when I was in school. I think that those lessons are so often so hard learned, and I think that a lot of us just spend a lot of time in front of a computer trying to figure out what the search term is to answer a question about how you do a particular thing, like how you make a business plan or how you choose your target market, or something like intellectual property, which we know a lot of people that have issues with intellectual property. And I think that, particularly for our audience, a lot of people say, I really want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do this thing, but they don't have any business background at all. And so they don't really know how to manage it well. They don't know what the requirements are. They don't know the business norms. Like, oh, I should do this thing at this time of year because I can capitalize on it. I can sell more now and then deal with a lull that I might have later and still, survive. My business will still survive.
And if you guys are trying to get your learn on, if you want to become an entrepreneur or learn from one of the thousands of courses from the Great Courses Plus, right now we have a great opportunity. We've teamed up with them for a special offer to get you a free month of the Great Courses Plus. Limited time only, so you want to check it out right now. That's a totally free month. You can sign up at thegreatcoursesplus.com/facts. That's thegreatcoursesplus.com/FACTS. I
want to jump on this one right away. The thing is, it's not just one course you're signing up for. You have access to all their courses. So whether business is the thing that's, currently driving you, or if you want to find out about something else, you can check it out at the Great Courses Plus, thegreatcoursesplus.com/facts for your free month.
Check it out.
Is somehow the future of fitness, particularly for sedentary people, is it virtual reality exercise?
I think part of the future of fitness is virtual reality exercise. So, and kind of to preface that too, when we say virtual reality, you think of something with a headset where you can't see anything out of it. You're seeing everything in the virtual world, right?
Right.
There's also augmented reality, which is something like the failed Google Glass project, where you have these glasses that have a little hologram or a projection on them. There's more companies coming out with things like that. So I think VR and AR, virtual reality and augmented reality, will kind of be used interchangeably. And from the research that we're doing, so our lab partnered with a group called the VR Health Institute. You can check them out at vrhealth.institute. Basically, the whole goal there is to look at games that are available now to the public in virtual reality, whether it's on your PS4 or Oculus Rift or HTC Vive or some of these high-end headsets, and see if those games actually burn calories, actually cause calorie consumption, just like exercise on a treadmill or a bike or outside running or whatever. And so what we do is we're taking all these games, dozens of games come out every week, and we are having real people play these games for 15 minutes, and we're hooking them up to a machine in the lab that measures oxygen consumption. So one of those VO2 masks that you wear. With that, we can measure how much oxygen your muscles use and how much carbon dioxide you burn or you blow off, and then get a nice calorie calculation from that. So this is one of the best ways to measure calorie consumption in the lab. So again, we have them play for 15 minutes, look how many calories they use, and then we equate that to an activity that you might be used to. So for example, we've got one game, Thrill of the Fight. It's a boxing game. It's really hard. You play 3 rounds of this game, you're sweating like crazy. We equate that to 15 plus calories a minute, which is equal to sprinting or running around the track pretty fast.
Wow.
Which is insane. I mean, this is not a game we're going to play for hours. You might play a couple rounds a day, but if you do that over time, and it doesn't have to be this high intensity game, you can meet the guidelines for fitness. So to be healthy in America today, they say you should exercise about 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity activity or 75 minutes of vigorous. If you play this game 4 times a week, you've hit the vigorous intensity, level for fitness, for health. So yeah, is this something that most people that haven't been to the gym might want to do? I think so. I think, if you went to a bunch of gamers and you're like, hey, you guys want to get fit? And they're like, we're not going to the gym. Well, you just put on your HTC Vive and play this game 4 times a week for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and that's it. Yeah, I think you'll be able to get a lot of people to do that.
Are they solo games, or are there ones that are more like interactive multiplayer kind of things, or?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot you could do multiplayer on a lot of games. Some of them are solo games. It runs what we're using right now. They have the HTC Vive Pro and the Oculus Rift. Those are kind of the two high-end headsets out right now. There's several others in 2019, 20 coming out. But those you hook up to a computer, a gaming computer, and you run all the games off of Steam. So you can even get popular role-playing games like Fallout 4 and these kind of games and play those. There's triaxial treadmills, which are treadmills like, I don't know if you've ever seen Ready Player One, these kinds of movies. That stuff is possible. It's just super expensive. So, there's a few labs that have triaxial treadmills where you have a harness and everything. We're not there yet. We still have, you basically have to walk within a 5 by 5 meter area. Still pretty big. But yeah, the abilities that we have now, I think, I've been talking about, there's this kind of convergence of technologies that are all coming together right now. In 1993, Sega came out with a really cool VR headset that I really, really wanted to get, but it was way expensive. It was like almost $1,000, and it had like 3 games, and nobody ever heard of it. So VR came and went in 1993, and now I think VR has been around decades, but the last 5 years we've got phones that are more powerful than computers 10 years ago. You've got everything in your phone you really need to run VR. All the technology is getting cheaper and cheaper, more accessible. We've got groups all over the world that are beta testing some of these games for us, people in the Philippines, people in Europe, and it's cool to be able to play against somebody in the Philippines, one-on-one on a game, and then get off and be like, hey, man, you burned 200 calories today. Like, it's kind of a cool way to exercise.
Yeah, and even augmented reality, like you mentioned, when Pokemon Go came out, 4 years ago or something. I remember looking through parks in Sacramento and just seeing way more people walking around a park. Granted, they're still staring at their phones, head down, not enjoying the weather, but at least they're outside moving around.
Yeah, so how cool it'd be, you throw your glasses on, and then you got Pokemon Go on there, and you're walking around, and you don't have to look straight down. You can still do that. But I think that's the next step, is having these glasses that are basically augmented / virtual reality, where you're walking and you can see things, and it's going to be cool.
Are the game companies starting to think about the advantages of this? Like, are they starting to think a little bit like fitness companies?
Yeah, I think some of them are. So we've been in the talks with HTC, who's one of the big players right now, Microsoft. We're working with some of these big companies, and a lot of them have virtual reality, like augmented reality teams, wings, and all of them are thinking about things like working remotely, like conference calling. Like, how cool would it be if you put your glasses on, you sit down, and you can see all of your colleagues around a table.
Right.
You're there talking like it's normal. So that's one thing they're looking at. They're also looking at the medical field. How can this be used as a training tool, maybe for doctors or surgeons and stuff, or how could they use this to do remote surgeries? They're thinking about education. They're thinking about all kinds of stuff, things about getting over phobias, like put a bunch of spiders in front of you and then get over it, right? Like something like that.
Wow.
Only a few of them are thinking about fitness, though. Like, they kind of think it's still sedentary. They think you put these on, you sit, but now we know you can do a lot more than sit. So some of the more forward-thinking game companies have approached us, and we've been working with them at the VR Health Institute to try to get this message out that we can be active and fit and use virtual reality. And so I think it's going to be part of the puzzle. There's dozens of things it's going to be used for. I think another analogy is in 2001, 2002, 2003, everybody had flip phones, Razor phones. Those were cool, right? I don't even remember how to T9 text anymore. All I know is a smartphone, and that's only been out for like 15 years.
Right.
I think in 15 years from now, we won't know what a smartphone is. All we'll know is our little glasses with our robot computers in it, And then 20 years down the road from there, then it'll be in your brain. Then we won't even have to worry about any hardware. It'll all be in there. So I think we're on this trajectory. Yeah. We're on this trajectory where this is going to be, pending that there's no economic collapse in the next few years. I think this is going to be the next big thing. Because if you looked at sales of smartphones and stuff, they're pretty stagnant. Like, I'm pretty happy with my phone from 3 years ago. I don't really need a new one. But If they came out with some glasses that was a phone, I probably would drop some money to buy something like that.
Yeah. How involved or realistic or whatever do these games have to be for people to get engaged in them?
That's a good question, too. And we've done a lot of questionnaires. So we have people play games in a gym setting or in a home setting or in the lab. We ask them, how did you like this? Do you think you'd play it? Was it fun? What did it make you feel like? And we actually found that the games that people liked the most, maybe not necessarily they didn't have the best graphics, but they were just better, more fun games. So there's a game called Beat Saber, which doesn't have the greatest graphics, but you have two lightsabers, and you've got to hit these orbs that fly at you in the right direction, and it has really cool music. You have to duck and dodge things. I could play that game for hours. It's kind of like playing something like Guitar Hero or something. You kind of get a pattern down, and it's really fun. So I think as long as it's engaging and fun, and you could change the settings, play against people, that's what will keep people coming back. And I guess one more point to that is we had a group of people walk on a treadmill at a certain oxygen consumption. So let's say they were walking, burning 8 calories a minute, jogging. And then we had them play VR games, burning 8 calories a minute. And we found that their perception of exertion playing VR games was significantly lower than going on a treadmill. So at least it takes your mind off of the exercise too. You'll start sweating and everything, and they've got fans and special wipes and stuff. You can make sure you're not going blind on your screen. But it's fun. I mean, I sneak in the lab sometimes and play it. Don't tell anybody, but I'm about to go play it after we're off the phone right now.
That's great. So could we be seeing, big fitness centers that have like VR classrooms or, VR bike setups or just, basically a place to play any of these games, either individually or as a group?
Yeah, I think that's step one. So right now the headsets with the computer and everything are still about $1,000. Pretty pricey to get the whole setup. There's a company out of Columbus, Ohio. I can't think of the name right now, but it's a virtual reality gym, just like you're describing. You can go in there and play whatever games you want. You pay by the minute or by the hour. There's some companies in South Korea that are doing this. There's one here in San Francisco called Box VR, and or Black Box VR, and it's a room where basically it has, think about a big cable stack like you have in the gym. Yeah. But this cable stack moves around you and adjusts depending on what you're playing. So, I would say Google Black Box VR and check this out. It looks really cool. I haven't been down there yet, but I think things like this are going to be there first. And once people play these and are like, wow, I'm having a lot of fun at the gym, just kind of like how Peloton, these bikes got really popular, and people will start buying it for home. And there's a bike out that's going to come out this summer. It's probably, coming out August or September 2019. It's through Nordic Track. They got their own bike that's like the Peloton, but you wear a headset, totally immersive VR. I mean, it's cool. This is the kind of, that bike's still going to be over $2,000 though. So it's not going to be something everybody's going to buy. It's more of a fitness center type thing where I think you throw these in the neighborhood 24-hour fitness or whatever, and people start seeing it. That's going to get people excited.
Yeah, we have a friend that recently opened basically a bicycle gym here in Sac, and it's, what'd you say, 20 bikes, Mike? And go ahead and describe it. You've been there, haven't you?
Yeah, it's just like a big, similar idea, just huge projection screen in the front of the room. He has lights, music, kind of the whole deal. He's a high-energy guy, so it gets you going as well. But I don't do any cardio. I lift weights and my ADD starts kicking in 5 minutes on the treadmill. I start to get bored. But I slammed out an hour class of his because there's good music going, and you kind of see yourself like riding a mountain. So like in a way, it's like low-budget VR, because you don't have any goggles or anything. I can only imagine if you had a headset on and it feels a little bit more real, especially if you live in a state or a country where weather permitting or traffic or whatever. Like even me riding around downtown, I ride my bike everywhere, but I can't like really get after it because I gotta stop at a stop sign, worry about getting hit by a car or something like that. But if you could travel the world or something, or gamify it even more, turn it into some kind of race car game or something, who knows what, I'd probably be on that thing all day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's going to be super cool for everybody from the average Joe that's just trying to get fit to, we're talking to people at NASA. Because think about astronauts. They got to go up to the International Space Station and they got to ride a bike for like an hour or so. How boring would that be, just sitting there in space? So they're going to throw a headset on. All of a sudden, they got like Google Map Street View from their neighborhood and they're riding around their neighborhood. So, cool. Kind of make you feel at home or whatever. So I think, as far as the technology goes, there's really cool cameras coming out, really cool audio ways to, basically you could be in a room and, somebody knocks on the door, you could tell it's coming from behind a door. That kind of sound is going to be so realistic that, it's already there. It just depends on what experience you have and how much money you want to spend on it. But I think Yeah. Next 2 to 3 years, everybody will see them around, and in 5 or 10 years, it's going to be pretty common, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Your astronaut example kind of blows my mind. I just wonder what kind of like physiological impact that might have, or psychological impact that would have on someone to feel like they're be in space but feel like you're back in your neighborhood. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, when these astronauts, hopefully in the next decade or two, we're supposed to go to Mars and everything. That would be awesome, but they're going to be on a spaceship for 6 to 8 months each way,
right?
And they're going to be so bored. So if you can at least have some comforts at home, and even think about doing something like a conference call, like a Skype call or something with your family, where you're sitting in the room with them, and beyond exercise, just actually almost being there, it's going to be really cool.
We actually Skyped with my grandsons live with my son and his wife in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and we FaceTime once a week or once every other week or whatever, and we had to switch to FaceTime because the kids move around so much that just doing it on a computer wasn't enough. You couldn't keep them in frame enough, so he's like constantly moving it around. And yesterday he was like, if we just had a drone that would fly around this room and track the kids, that would be more interesting.
Probably not far.
Yeah, probably not far off.
Yeah.
That would be that same kind of thing where you could feel like you were in the room. That would be amazing.
Yeah, and it's going to be like a 3D, or not a 3D, but 360 camera. So you'll be able to see around the entire room like you're there. Yeah, so nobody can, now you can Skype or FaceTime work with your underwear on. I think in the future people will be like, hey, why are you wearing no pants? We're here.
Got to dress up at home.
Yeah.
Put that away, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Well, where can people find you?
So you can find me on Instagram or Twitter. I'm at Dr. Jimmy Bagley, or our lab website is at Muscle Phys Lab. And we're also at the Department of Kinesiology at San Francisco State University. So if you just Google that, you'll find all of our current research and programs and what we got going on.
Awesome. Thanks very much.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Cool,
thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
You guys can find me at Silent Mike, 2Ks, Instagram, Twitter.
I'm at the Jim McD on all the social medias. The show is 50% Facts, where percent is a word, and we'll see you next week.